What it feels like to work in AI right now. From my perspective, it's just confusing to work in AI right now. We have some massive models that are doing some really neat stuff, and apparently hundreds of millions of people are using them. But I keep wondering, to do what exactly? I'm not asking what the models can do. I'm asking what people want the models to do every day, all the time. I've been shown some neat pictures people made that they thought were cool. I don't know that I need this every day. I've seen examples of, write an email to my boss. It would take me longer to explain to chat what I want than to write these myself. I've seen write a snippet of code demos. But I hardly care about this compared to designing a good API, or designing software that is testable, extensible, maintainable, and follows reasonable design principles. In fact, no one in my extended sphere of friends and family has asked me anything about Chat, Midjourney, or any of these other models. The only people I hear about these models from are other tech people. I can see that these models are significantly better than anything before, but I can't see yet the killer app. For comparison, I don't remember anyone in my orbit predicting search or social networking being killer apps for the internet, but we all expected things like TV and retail sales to book online. What am I missing?
You're asking, what's so big about GUIs? Literally nobody has asked to move a pointer around a screen. It's the use cases these things enable that are important. Today, I wrote a draft product announcement. Only after I was done, did I realize I had written it in a really impersonal third person. Users will be able to. No big deal, but maybe 10-20 minutes of work to make it energetic and second person. Now you can. 30 seconds with chat. Rewrite with more energy in the second person, using best practices for announcements. 6 months ago, I would never have asked for that. Today it was glorious, and let me move on to focus on more important things.
I mean, Google revolutionized search. Apple revolutionized personal computing. OpenAI revolutionized, rewriting things with slightly different wording. I've seen so many breathless people posting, "This would have taken me so long to search." And then I type 3 keywords from their massive prompt they crafted and find it instantly on Google. We're talking 1000x or more faster. I feel like the same is happening in your comment. How often have I thought, damn, I wish I wrote this blog post ever so slightly differently in my life? Maybe a handful of times. And yes, I'm including all generalizations of that question. But certainly fake girlfriends and summarization will be mid-size fields. Image generation has some mid-size potential. But these will be spread between many companies. I really think it has uses, no doubt. But is it a revolution? Where? It's not creative in the valuable sense. Media, art, fashion, etc., all will adopt it marginally. But ultimately it will actually only serve to further the desire for genuine human experience and cohesive creativity that we see it really falls flat at. It saves some marginal time perhaps if you're okay sounding like a robot. Taking into account the downsides, it looks like a hype bubble right now to me, and a draw in the long run. There's just a whole lot of tech people trying to cash in on the hype.
I think this is a classic case of us overestimating the immediate impact and underestimating the long-term impact. Right now, they are definitely useful time savers, but they need a lot of hand-holding. Eventually, someone will figure out how to get hundreds of LLMs supervising teams of millions of LLMs to do some really wild stuff that is currently completely impossible. You could spin up a giant staff the way we do servers now. There has to be a world-changing application of that.
What am I missing? I'm going to guess, assume, you probably haven't worked in a real business. A place where elbow grease still does the majority of the work, and where Windows 8 was only just phased out. The killer app to me in case of GPT is GPT itself, not Chat. Chat just allows me to easily test use cases for GPT. There are many interesting use cases for those elbow grease businesses for GPT. For example, data entry. There's still a lot of data entry being done from unstructured text, where specifics like names and addresses need to be extracted from letters and emails and contracts and other stuff. I've worked on these challenges before using different strategies, and GPT blows my mind with what it can do just by asking to grab this data and format it as JSON. Is it 100% correct? Nope. You still need people to review the data, depending on the use case. But that already saves tons of work. Categorization. Some companies still get tons of emails that need to be forwarded to specific departments. This is another thing that GPT does surprisingly well out of the box. And that's just GPT. There are many other legacy business processes that can be automated, partially by other models that are coming out right now. Even just segment anything that Meta just released is incredibly useful for many use cases I've seen in my daily work. Killer apps are always a combination of a technology to solve a real-world problem. If you don't venture into the real world and only stay part of the tech world, seeing the killer app is very difficult and ends up leading to Juicero-like products.
You are not missing anything. It's a bubble. This is Tech 101 and all over again. You gotta hype some new thing, whether it's Web 2.0, crypto, or AI. LLM have proven to be great as a gimmick, or making rather okay localized approximations. You can create a good enough image without any designing skills, or have auto-completion on steroids. However, there is no proof that this same tech can extrapolate to the next level. Most startups are putting their eggs on this single basket. I have the feeling that this will be what triggers another AI winter, and some VCs will holding the bags, but why do I care?
It's good for so many things. Need to write a speech as a best man. Write a eulogy for a deceased family member. Recently used it to speed up the time to fix an oath problem in code I didn't write, knowing nothing about oath. Replaces Stack Exchange with much more tailored answers. Can take hundreds of pages of text and distill it down to an executive summary of any length. Daughter uses it to explain how to solve algebra problems, not just give an answer. Will completely change education. Marketing using it for all content. Devs hate writing blog posts. It will take some code as an input and write a blog post about what it does. Can use it to come up with questions to seed a podcast. Paralegals are virtually redundant. AI with all legal case law making it much easier. HR using it to write customized offer letters, review resumes, etc. It is NT just about asking a question and getting an answer. You can keep adding context and the answers keep getting better.
I work on a research team in FAA&G. What it really feels like is one company made everyone else obsolete. And we are going to working on NLP models that underperform Chapped by a huge margin. Twiddling my thumbs and keeping quiet while no one wants to recognize the elephant in the room. Also, there is no working in AI. A few thousand people are doing real AI at most. The rest of us are calling an API.
Why do you think OpenAPI is so far out in front? It's not like there's a lot of secret sauce here. Most of this stuff, transformers, etc., is all out there in papers. And places like Google and Meta must have a lot more computing resources to train on that OpenAI does, thus they should be able to train faster. Do you think OpenAI has discovered something they haven't been open about?
Why do you think OpenAPI is so far out in front? There is a network effect forming around its models. The strengths of its kit speak for themselves. It also cannot be understated how making Chapped public, something its competitors were too feeble, incompetent, and behind the curve to do, dealt OpenAI a massive first-mover advantage. But as others note, other models are in the ballpark. Where OpenAI is different is in the ecosystem of marketing literature, contracts code, and e.g. prompt engineers being written and trained with GPT in mind. That introduces a subtle switching cost, and not so subtle platform advantage, that, barring a Google scale-bout of incompetence, OpenAI is set to retain for some time.
I don't work at Google. I think other FAA&GS underinvested in this area, as they did think it was promising. But I will admit, I am suspicious that Google is incompetent. Probably they can come back given how much money they will be forced to throw at it. But Bard is clearly behind, and I don't believe their abundance of caution, arguments for why Bard sa'n't even code.
The impression I get is that they purposely limited Bard in certain ways. It does not seem to be willing to code, and makes a lot of excuses when you ask it to. At least as of a couple of weeks ago when I last tried it. Did they put this limitation on it because it's not so good at coding, or because they don't want it to be abused in some way? In my experience, I had to trick it into coding by telling it to pretend that it had created its own programming language, and then implement an algorithm in it. It seemed to think that it had created Python. I am suspicious that Google is incompetent. Google has put a lot of effort and investment into AI. With Bard, I get the feeling they're not showing us what they really have. It's like for some reason they're holding back the good stuff. At least that's my suspicion. I am still wondering if Google is experiencing a Kodak moment. They have the dominant product that makes them billions and billions of dollars at relatively low cost. The new dominant product is on its way, but it costs far more to operate and will net them far less money. So no one wants to kill the goose that is still laying golden eggs, even though its days are numbered already.
I feel like the whole chapped bubble has really highlighted what feel like some fundamental shortcomings in the worldview that is represented in tech. That is, there seems to be a winner-take-all dynamic baked into the tech world. Maybe this arises from the simple fact that tech places a lot of power in the hands of individuals. But there's an emergent downside to this, which is that it makes those who are already much more powerful even more so. Because who is best suited to take advantage of all the power, but those who are already perched up above everyone else and permitted to pick and choose their opportunities? I've found it exceptionally hard to stay positive about all of this. It almost feels as though the advent of LLMs has shined light on a fundamental law of the universe that does not work out in the little person's favor. It's like survival of the fittest on steroids. Guys, what the heck are we doing?
At some point, I became disenchanted with tech and working as a software engineer when I realized that tech doesn't ethically fit into our primitive economic organization right now. It's made me feel bad about myself and the career path I've chosen. Basically, with tech, you can build a product with a very limited amount of people and resources with a potentially infinite customer base. And this means that this product can suck up money from the whole world and redirect it into the hands of very few. At its essence, this is the case. With tech, this phenomena is exacerbated to the extreme compared to other industries where more physical resources and labor are required to scale production and distribution of the product, which means more wealth getting spread. At its core, tech has the potential to exacerbate wealth inequality in mind-boggling proportions. Our current economic system is not made for tech.
Huge crypto vibes. Every single person I know working in AI these days has been sparked by the chapped moment.
Can someone show some actual product features where AI is being used productively? I do want to say it, but I think this is a hype train headed for failure.